I'd like to ask you about that then. So Tupper, I'll come into your ideas as well. So the two questions I want to ask you around that, Tom, is first of all, in recruitment, I mean, do you have direct recruitment into the police as you're a 22-year-old, or do you tend to get people after military, or maybe people coming in, you know, having done something else for a couple of years? Because I think that makes a difference. And secondly, pride in the uniform. I mean, do people still, you know, do people still have that pride? You know, I'm a New York police cop. You know, do they carry that pride in the uniform, or has that changed?
No, I do think so. I mean, you know, if you look at, you know, law enforcement culture here in the States, and you watch the movies and the TV shows, you know, everybody strives to be that detective, you know, who's solving the crimes in his suit and not in uniform. But I do think that with a lot of the newer officers that we're hiring, people that come from different countries, you know, maybe they were born in Egypt or they were born in Pakistan, and now they've come here and they become citizens and they can join the police department. I see amongst a lot of the diverse community, people want to be more in uniform than maybe the older people that, you know, strive to get out of uniform. I do think there's a lot of pride in it, especially in their communities. They stand out as leaders in their communities. The young children look up to them. It's a great recruitment tool for us to recruit in some of those communities, to get people involved with the police, either do explorer programs or cadet programs within their own community. So there is a lot of pride in that aspect. But you know, it's also you know, kind of a goal as you move up in the police department, that, you know, if you want to be an investigator or whatever, that you can get out of uniform. You still pride in being a police officer, but now, you know, you've become the son in the Blue Bloods show, you know.
Interesting, Sutapa, because of course, in India, in general, the federal agencies are given respect. You know that is something that, you know, India has both in terms of its own self-identity, and also for, you know, around the world, you know, people respect those agencies. So a young person from the village in, you know, in Uttar Pradesh or in Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra, you know, joining the Indian police service, they're not joining the Maharashtra police service, are they? They're not joining the Tamil Nadu police service. They're joining the Indian police service, as opposed to Tom's situation where they join the New York Police Department, or with Roy they join the Metropolitan Police. With you, you join the Indian Police Service. And then, of course, you can go anywhere in. I mean, does that impact on the way that you identify yourself, or what you do, or how you engage, or the service you deliver? The fact that you represent India?
See, we do get into the Indian Police Service, but then we are allotted the states, right? Apart from the central organizations, you can also go on deputation to the central organizations. Like I served for 5 years with the government of India as advisor security to GAIL India Limited. That's the largest gas public sector company in India. But then when you go to the state, I think you are the leader of that force, right? You will have the state police service people working alongside you, with you, but you still remain the leader of that force. Now, taking this thought a little bit further, of course, you treat yourself as having an all India base, but the regional base also becomes important, because ultimately you have to deal with local issues, you have to deal with local problems in policing as well as in issues around you. See, if I take a bit forward to what you've been saying and what we have been discussing on mental health, etc. issues. Now, what happens is the uniform kind of, you know, conjures up an image about a police person. Somehow you also become entrapped in that image, and you have to live up to that image also. In the process, you forget, and so do the people, that there's a human being behind that uniform.
So I will come back to that point, but Roy Smith has to step out.
Okay.
Because somebody much more important than me is calling his time, let me tell you. Roy, would you, so I'll come back to Sutapa, but Roy, I know you have to step out. Okay. Would you, any final points you'd like to bring up, Roy?
No, I mean, it's been fantastic. Hopefully, I've certainly had it really useful. Thomas, Sutapa will catch up, no doubt, offline. I think Sutapa, I step out thinking just what you said, which is, the men and women that we have working within law enforcement, whether it's in India, whether it's in New York City, or whether it's in London, are people that join to protect communities. They join to fight crime. They join to protect vulnerable people, to save life. They go out and they do that honorably and admirably. And they are human beings with emotions, with feelings, with families, and with loved ones. And, if there was one thing that I would say as I leave, is that we all have a responsibility and a duty in whatever role that we fulfill to remember that they deserve our support, not just as police officers, former police officers, but the support of the public, because they go out to take on dangers that candidly most of us just wouldn't. And they are incredibly brave human beings. And certainly I take my hat off to the men and women that go out and do that on a daily basis.
Likewise, as I say, a lifetime of service, and and on a day, as you say, on a daily basis, going through things that one of us, would see as a lifetime traumatic incident. You have 3 of those by Wednesday. So Roy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know you have a huge amount on your plate. Thank you for your time, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you very much. Cheers. It's been a pleasure. On that basis, Sutapa, we'll come back to you. Sorry for interrupting you, but I just wanted to bring.
No, it's okay. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Please.
So, but then it has to be a two-way process. When we put on the uniform, we have to leave behind our biases when we go into society. Then we cannot carry our unconscious or conscious biases against people. And it has to be the other way from the people to the police personnel also. They have to be respected. They face so much of, hate in society. And this is going to increase in the times to come, because times to come are going to become more difficult with GDPs falling, with unemployment rising. Social tensions are going to rise. The COVID itself, it threw apart the entire system. It was something which was a black swan. None of us knew how to respond to it. None of the sectors. And then it became, people versus police. Whereas what they were trying to do is to maintain the law and order, but they didn't know how to do it. It was such a new situation, and many of them lost their lives also to the virus. It was an uncertain virus, which nobody knew what track it's going to follow. We still do not know much about it. It shows so much of different paths taken in different people, right? And being in the front of all the activities, along with the health people and the sanitation people, etc., it was very traumatic for them. And for days, they were not going home. They were sleeping in the police stations. They were sleeping wherever they could, catch a nap. They had to avoid going home so that they wouldn't, spread it to their children in case they had contracted it. And then with the asymptomatic stuff, it became even more, it was a black hole, basically. I think that's the only way we can talk about it. But then these things may occur, they may recur. So now we need to provide for these sudden changes in society. We have to have an SOP for calamities and for these pandemics, because you never know when the next one is going to come, right? So now we need templates, we need SOPs. If this comes, we are going to do this. And as I said, it has to be a two-way traffic from the police towards the people, as well as from the citizens towards the police personnel. They both have to realize that we have our limitations. And at the end of the day, we are human beings. So that community engagement will be one very good way of, developing the trust between the police person and citizens. And one other thing, David and Tom, being a woman, a cop, and when, as I keep saying that, when I went to the academy, I found myself to be the only one with 78 other male officers, right? When I go to the state, it is more or less the same situation. On the panel too, I think I'm and only female out here in today's panel. So diversity and inclusion These are two magic words, which we need to inculcate in the culture of every organization. As women cops, we have to work doubly hard to prove ourselves, right? Plus, you have your home, your family to manage. So I think we need to look beyond that uniform at the woman, at the man who is manning or womaning that uniform. And I think this is something, David, I think the ISRM should take up in one of the other roundtables. It's very important because that impacts our performance also. Stress is not very conducive to appropriate conduct, right?
Well, of course, we did have the Women in Society webinar last month, which was, I have to tell people, brilliant. Oh my God. I mean, that was the energy that came off that one. We all know is fantastic. We've set up the ISRM Women in Society LinkedIn group, and we are here as a platform to offer ourselves as a platform for what we call action-orientated policy. So if anybody would like to get involved with that or has an idea, please get in touch with us.